Hello, everyone. So, we are going to be talking about a lot of theories today, actually. But much more specifically, I owe y'all a video over the dissection of the video of not Honkai, Genshin Impact, that they released on Wednesday, and I sadly, couldn't stream it at that time because I had a little bit of a personal issue. Plus, I needed to talk about this. This is going to be uploaded on YouTube, so hi. So, there's one thing. So, the video talks about the meeting of the four shades, but also about an experimentation that Istaroth was doing. Well, Istaroth and Neberis. Gold. Well, I'll call her Neberis for now. And the game itself, or should I say the experiment itself, it failed with one thing, and one thing only, is that could there be a situation where Asmodee, also known as the sustainer of shade of space, or the shade of space, also known as the unknown god that separated us not every single time, but in the beginning of the game, got us out. Now, I have a few theories about Paimon and about Asmodee, where she is. So, first things first. Could Paimon be Fates, considering that they are the first who came, meaning the heavenly principles, but also got guabified basically and thrown inside of her own prison, or even inside of a samsara? So, here I am referencing three theories at once. I know it's going to sound very, very, very confusing, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. But here's to why I'm saying this. Paimon, or should I say Phanes, was weakened a lot. It was weakened by the first war against the sovereigns, the dragon sovereigns, considering Coco Clan and previous sovereigns with the first usurpers, and it was mentioned both in the last war quest of Oshkanatlan, but also with New Villette's story quest, specifically about the Dragon Sovereigns and the Fontaine Archon quest, but also with Elenas. It was also mentioned there, which we're going to be visiting these places in the game later on. So I'm going to be doing a full-on stream about it. The second thing. Now, why am I saying that Phanes could be Paimon or Paimon could be Phanes? One simple thing. So, simply put, we can see it from her designs of having each of the shades elements onto her. A crown like Astaroth, a trifecta that is upside down, like Renova's and of Neberis, but also she has those the twines basically also drawn on the bottom of her dressing, but also because she has a cape that has 3 stars, like 3 points or 3 stars in the back. Those 3 stars are of the 3 known shades, because Asmodee is still missing. I'm almost going crazy about it because I had been marinating for a few years since we started the game. Okay, here's to why I'm saying this, because in her cape there is stars and there is sort of quote unquote a void. Now that void is not really unintentional, not with Hoyo. No. It could actually be where Asmodee is. Like, yeah, that could be actually a thing. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense, but let me explain. Asmodee is missing. since the day that she separated the twins. It was only peaked that she was back in 500 years ago with Lumine. Like, she was listening onto them. And a lot of people thought that, oh, Asmodee is Paimon. No, she's not. And she is not for one simple thing, is that she doesn't have the powers of Asmodee. She has greater powers than Asmodee. The first things first, she has a power that can control wisdom, meaning bestowing wisdom and knowledge over others. That is the first thing. Like, how can you explain this? Like, explain this to me. How is that you were fished out of the water and then you taught everything in every language of Tevat to a full stranger in exchange of food? I don't like to beat it that way, but again, also there is a voice line of the Traveler and Paimon, which we're going to be viewing. If you play the game, please go check it out. I think it's called Crying. So, yeah. And it's where she actually hints jokingly that she is also someone of power, basically. I'm not going to be spoiling it. We're going to be watching it together or listening to it together. But also because why I do not think that Asmodee is Paimon or Paimon is Asmodee for one simple reason. So, if we see that the designs of every single shade, they resemble also the artifact sets. Like, for example, we have Flower of Life, which actually represents Niberius, and which is also a piece that is usually related directly to an HP. We have the Goblet, which is the Goblet of Eons, which also is hauling... my nose. Which also represents the space that it holds. That is Asmodee. We have the Plume of Death, which, fair point, it talks about Renova, the ruler of death. And we have the Sands of Eons, which talks about the passage of time, but also of Istaroth. Now, these are also, like, if I'm rambling a little bit too much, it's because these are also the titles of the artifacts themselves, like, no matter what type of set you watch. And there is also the Crown of Wisdom. This one fits mainly and most logically the look of Paimon. Well, not the look, the role of Paimon being a tour guide, bringing wisdom, but also it links every single shade under one. Because if it wasn't for the crown, you're not going to be having the sense of passage time, nor the sense of realization of death, or even the realization of space, or the realization of life. So, yeah. It was also hinted that after the first usurper / creator, which is the heavenly principles in this case, that Fanes led, they created humans and mended the first laws of Tevat after kind of taking over with the place of the sovereigns, which makes more sense now that we know that Paimon knows Tevat basically brick by brick. Like, isn't that suspicious for someone who literally does not remember who they were before they were fished out of the ocean? I smell suspicious. But also, that was before the second Who came, which was kind of alluded to be either Nibelung, which is the Dragon King who went to the Abyss to try and force the forbidden knowledge or even the abyssal powers into his will and try to kind of knock out the first who came so that they can actually take their place, only to be killed. And then came also the sinner, which was the first sinner of, I think it's the sinner of, it's the sinner from the first abyss. Is it the first abyss? Yeah, it's the first abyss slash. They don't have a name. Well, it's the first sinner of Conria, basically, who basically was a third descender. Well, technically, he was a third descender, and their body was used and fragmented into becoming Gnosis. But also, their soul still exists in Tevat. It is actually thrown into the abyss. Now, the problem is HP, or Heavenly Principle, had to use all of their power and literally got guabified, basically, meaning they got recreated or even kind of forced into a dream like comatose to be smaller, but also to survive, since at that time they already established the Four Shades. Because after the first laws of Tevat, they created the Four Shades, which was Renova, Nibirius, Asmodee, and Istheroth. So this is why I'm saying, like, the crown literally links every single one of them under one ruling. So Paimon could actually be a fragment of the creator, which is Fanes. Now, I'm actually on the subreddit of the Genshin Impact, where it was leaked actually, I think, 4 years ago. And the theory says, well, it's not really a theory, it's more like probably true, that Paimon is not just, she is a shade of Fanes. Like, it was actually confirmed by a leak. So let me be clear. I think it was debated as a Twitter account, like a Twitter leak. Like, hold on, let me check on it. Let me see. Yeah, there you go. Yes, I'm singing that song from Kill Bill. I know. I'm way too old. I'm old. But yeah, so this is the thing. Also, there is one thing that a lot of people don't understand, is that if, because Paimon, a lot of people think that, oh, she is Asmodee. I'm like, no. Could Asmodee do something else or similar to Alice? Like, because we know that Alice is withholding, or quote unquote, protecting the borders of the abyss, not the abyss, of Tevat. Could there be, like, could Asmodee be within the firmament? Let me explain. Like, could she have merged with the firmament, or could she have merged with Alice, similarly to how Niberius gave her heart to Rheindotter, which could be also a way. Now, this is why I think that Paimon is not the second who came, because again, it's either King Nibelung or the Sinner, which both are dead. So, yeah. Now, could she be Asmodee? I don't think so, because I think she merged with the firmament to strengthen it, because it was weak, specifically with what happened with Mavuika and the Natline, where they actually cracked the sky, but also because Skirk entered it. Skirk is not from Tevat at all. So we have that. Now, I think that Asmodee could have merged, or at least is in collaboration with Alice. Also, mentioning of Alice, Alice could know like the truth of Paimon, and she doesn't want to say anything because if we remember the paralogism with the trial that she created within the immersive theater or the imaginarium theater, Alice said, "You Paimon are going to stay here because the trial doesn't exactly allow me to shrink you as well. It shrinks only two people." But what if it was much more sinister than that? What if Alice knew that Paimon was way too strong? Like, as in, like, a fragment of the creator? Could there be a case of maybe, like, Alice could never, like, never, ever, ever shrink Paimon because she's way too strong than her? Like, that could be the case. Like, could literally be the case. And we, as the traveler, or even as the fourth descender, we are kind of guided to restore Fanes? Maybe? I mean, we know that Asmodee, when we did the A Space and Time for You, there's no. There's. It's kind of near impossible for me to think that Asmodee and Istaroth are not in the same page. That is near impossible for me to think because, again, the name of the quest is A Time and Space by You. Makes zero sense for me, like, especially because we know that there could be like Conria and Tevat are kind of in an unparalleled, well, not unparalleled, but more like a parallel cyclical time loop, where Conria is like a full linear time, but Tevat is in a cyclical loop, which again would go back to Samsara, which could actually be literally the same thing with what is happening to Fanes, where they're not, instead of a coma or a sleep, they're more like dreaming. And Paimon is basically their inner self. Like Asmodee could have just ensured that we would find Paimon and help her wake up. We are guiding her to wake up. Like this is my theory, I guess. And yeah, I guess this is what I've been thinking for the past, I don't know, like, 4 years. So yeah. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed it. If you don't mind, give us a follow, give us a like. I'll see y'all later. Like, in the game. So, see y'all later.